Welcome, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. This is going to be fun. This is our first podcast style video. Today, I'm sitting in front of Reid Bright. Reid is a 20-year-old entrepreneur, business owner. I met him a couple times at a local meetup. Super impressed with how he carries himself, his image. Reid, thanks for being here today, man.
No problem. I appreciate the invite.
So, can you tell us a little bit about your background and how you've gotten to this point?
Yeah, definitely. So I really started getting into entrepreneurship when I was right around probably about 15, 16. I started working for my now mentor, and I was just trying to figure out ways, how can I make money? I know there's ways I can do it outside of the norm. So how should I do it? So I really got into flipping things. I was lucky enough to work two jobs at the time when I was 16, and I saved up and bought my dream car at the time. It was a Focus ST, and I was just thinking, how can I, keep going, keep going, as being 16 years old. So, like I said, I got into flipping things. I bought a dirt bike for like $1,500, threw a couple $100 into it, flipped it, made like $500. And I just kept doing that over and over and over again. And then when I was 18, I bought my second dream car. It was a Mustang. And then at this point, I kind of was just hustling to get to cars. That was really what started my motivation for entrepreneurship, as I loved cars when I was younger. Or I guess I'm still pretty young, but I really had a love for cars. So I was just trying to figure out how can I get to the next level of cars. But then after I was 18 and I got that, dream car back then, the Mustang, I was like, okay, now I got to start making some moves. Like, how can I use what I'm doing and go even further? So when I was 18, I moved out, was on my own, and I worked for my mentor at the time. And I was like, okay, I'm making okay, not really okay. I was making some money, and I was like, okay, I can't really survive off of this right now. Like, I need to figure out a way to keep going to the next level. So, yeah, I just got back into flipping things again, and I just made my way up and, made a substantial amount of money through that and got into the business now. Started with junk removal, got into dumpster rentals now, roll off rentals, and yeah, invested all that cash I initially made through flipping things, which was over six figures, around six figures. It was, yeah, $100,000, around $100,000 made off flipping things, which was for a 19-year-old, 18, 19-year-old, it was a lot of money. And it took me a while to like really comprehend just like what I had done. And I was like, okay, I could be really stupid with this, or I could be really smart. I need to be smart and figure out, how to grow some wealth, provide for my family, future family. So then I started getting into real estate now, flip and fix, or fix and flips, and my end goal is multifamily apartment complexes and everything.
What at 15, 16 years old got you into doing that? Like, is there some part of your story that kind of drove you to wanting to do more than the average person? Like, why did you have that kind of motivation at such a young age to do a lot of stuff like that?
That's a hard question. I think it really just stemmed from I was always a kid. I would like to stand out. I never wanted to follow with the norm. I was just like that guy that just tried to stand out, be above everyone else, just not from the norm. So I was like, okay, now how can I do that in my life? I don't want to be standard 9 to 5 guy. Like I just cannot do that. I just could not see myself sitting in traffic every day, 9 to 5, come home, sad family life, whatever. I was like, okay, there's some other way like you can make money. And a lot of it stemmed really from my mentor. Was he was one of the first like successful people I ever met. And I was like, okay, I like I like this guy's mindset. I like the way he lives. How can I essentially live that life as well? He's not average. There has to be some other way. And that's really what it just stemmed from, was just not wanting, seeing people I was around that were following the norms, and I just was like, I can't do that. I'm not that type of guy that'll, you know, be like everyone else.
I like that you brought up mentors because I think that's the fastest way that you can get to where you want to be. Because what I've learned, and I'm maybe a little later in the game than you are, but there's a lot that you don't even know that you don't know. and people will help you understand that, people that are successful and kind of are where you are at, so or where you want to be at. So that's really cool.
Yeah, 100%. I completely agree. That's really where I noticed my success kind of take off is once I started being around some dudes that were pretty successful. When I first started out with the entrepreneurship game and just getting into business and stuff, I kind of really isolated myself for a while, and I wasn't around too many like-minded people. And then I was just like, okay, like I should start getting around some big players and start meeting some people, getting my name out there. And then once I did, I just got connections. That's like literally how I got hard money lender, private money lenders, got opportunities to do fix and flips, and got a lot of opportunities just off of meeting people. There's a saying that you can literally get rich off of one conversation, and I attest that is 100% true. I literally had one conversation with someone and it opened up just endless opportunities for me.
I want to know what made you take the chance on yourself from going. I mean, dirt bikes. I mean, $1,500 when you're young is a pretty substantial amount of money. So how did you have the confidence in yourself to put that into bigger things?
It really was, I kind of just had my back up against the wall and I was like, there's no other option. Like at the time, I wasn't really into business, or I didn't really know what business I wanted to pursue with. So I was like, how can I make money when I don't really know how to make money? And it was just this, I was just like, okay, buy, fix, sell. And that was just something that was just instilled in me. I was like, okay. And then the question you asked about how did I get into bigger things, I just kind of, like I said, back against the wall. I had no other option. I was like, okay, if I want to grow, I just need to start taking bigger chances. And I did lose. I mean, I've lost over 10,000, 10, $20,000 in, getting cars, getting bikes, and they break, blow up, or, me being an 18-year-old, 19-year-old kid, just being stupid with them and just, losing a lot of money. And I learned a lot of lessons that way in business, is taking losses. That's how I really learned how to take losses, is through flipping things. You just kind of have to let it go. There's nothing you can do about it. Don't let it get to your head too much. Just do what you can in the situation.
What has helped you to keep going with that? I mean, I feel like I don't know if you had any other jobs before, but it seems like there's a lot of stress and a lot of uncertainty that goes into flipping things and kind of taking that risk on yourself. So what has helped you to like continue on this route?
Mainly just, I feel like I have no other option. Just telling myself I don't have a plan B. This has to work. I have to go through with it. I literally can't sleep sometimes at night just thinking like I can't do anything else. I have no other option. Like I just have to pursue and just go through it. The toughest battles are given to, like the strongest characters. So I just, no other option.
I love that. I know we've talked about Alex Hormozy before. I think he says you'd be surprised what you can do when there's no other option. Like you don't give yourself another option, and I think you
Yeah.
just find a way. Like your brain will just find a way to make that happen. So that's really cool. With your business, I mean, you said you're in junk removal and you have a business going right now that's pretty successful. Like, what made you get into that, and how has that experience been? I mean, up to this point for you?
So what really made me get into it was same thing. When I was flipping cars, flipping, everything, I got a truck, and it was a really nice truck. And I was like, I like this truck. I don't really want to sell this truck. I got a great deal on it, but I was like, how can I really justify keeping this truck? So it was actually funny. It was on TikTok. I saw a TikTok. This was during Corona time, when everyone was in lockdown, and it was like best side hustle for teens, junk removal. They like used their dad's truck, dad's trailer, and they just went around picking up junk. And that's initially where I started. I was like, okay, cool. So I just started posting on Facebook groups, and I was like, anyone need, trash hauled away or stuff hauled away, I'll help. And it just went like that. I just started getting more and more business to the truck. I got a bigger truck, and then I got a trailer, and then there was only so much I felt like I could do in the junk removal industry without taking it to the next level. The way I think of it in business is, I don't want to just be a little, Joe Blow. Like I want to rule the industry. I want to be like the top 1%. So I was like, okay, how can I do this? And I started talking to people, especially my mentor, he really encouraged me to start getting into the dumpster rentals and roll off range of the business. And I just took the chance and, bought a couple, started getting my name out there with contractors and everything like that, relationships that I had created before, and then just went from there. And it's definitely not an easy business at all. A lot of stress, especially me being so young. So many people try to take advantage and kind of rip me off. Negotiating, they're trying to negotiate, straight up just not pay. It's it's pretty challenging, and there's just the day-to-day things of running a business that absolutely beat you down. But I just look towards the long run. In the future, there's potential for it to be pretty big.
I like how it came from TikTok. I
Yeah.
think right now there's a lot of opportunity too online. I
Yeah.
mean, we have things within our phones that we can literally make money off of. But I want you guys to know too, this isn't from Daddy's money either. He came
Yeah.
with a new F-350 pulled up in the front of my house, so he's made really done well with that. But do you run into any awkward situations with your age? With like clients and things like that. Like, have you had to work through that?
Yeah, 100%. I think that's definitely been a big struggle for me, is gaining the respect of other people, especially not only in the dumpster business, but also in the real estate business I'm into. A lot of homeowners, they won't really trust you when you're trying to buy their home. They're like, okay, well, this some 20-year-old kid. Do I trust him? This is my opportunity for wealth. Do I trust him in buying my house? How do I know they're not going to try and screw me over? So respect from being so young is really, really hard. But that's why I really try, or I'm really key about the way I present myself. I feel like if I'm not stuttering, if I show up dressed nice, show up in a nice, truck, it's giving the what's the word for it? It's giving off that I know, kind of what I'm doing.
Yeah.
They can respect me.
Kind of that presence. It's funny because I mean I'm 23. I'm not much older, but people still say, "Hey, buddy. Hey, sweetheart."
Yeah,
Sometimes that gets me, but that's. I mean, is there anything else that you've done to kind of show people, whether it's what you're trying to buy a house or get clients in your business? What other ways have you found success in having other people take you seriously?
I think a big way for that is just the way you talk. Are you articulating your words correctly? Do you sound like you genuinely know what you're talking about? Just those simple things can either turn on a customer or turn off a customer. And once the customer doesn't trust you or thinks you don't know what you're talking about, the deal's done. It doesn't matter how cheap you are, how good of a product you have. If the customer doesn't trust you, the relationship's over right there. The deal's done. So definitely a big way of how you present yourself.
I want to know your thoughts too because you're in pretty good shape. You like going to the gym. Do you feel like there's correlation between taking yourself seriously in the gym, working hard, working on your fitness, and how you can do in business?
100%. I think that's definitely a big takeaway from the fitness industry, is just being able to do the same thing over and over and over in the gym and not see results immediately, but see the results long term. It's essentially the same thing in business. You do the same results over and over and over again, and you're not going to see results overnight, but one day you're going to look into the mirror and be like, okay, I'm pretty big, or okay, my business is doing pretty good. Okay, I've gotten this far. So definitely just being consistent in the gym and in business directly correlate, and even the mindset thing, just being able to have that to do it every day, even when you don't want to do it at all. Definitely just keep the discipline and keep showing up every single day, and there's no way you won't see some results.
Have you had tough times like that in your own business of wanting to jump ship?
Yes, 100%. It's very, very frequently I'm just like, I can't do this anymore. There's days where I literally am just I'm selling everything, and I'm just giving up. It's definitely a big struggle, but I just have to tell myself, okay, there's high highs and low lows. When you're in your high highs, something I like to do is just take advantage of when everything's in the highs. Take advantage, buckle down, go harder, because when everything's in the lows, you're gonna be like, oh, I should give up. Oh, I can't do this anymore. But you just have to remember there's high highs and low lows, and you know,
I love that.
it'll get better always.
For you too, so I'm thinking you found success pretty early on with flipping things with your business. How do you stay disciplined in reinvesting that? Like at what point when you're having a bad day, what prevents you from going out and buying maybe a dream car you have right now, or kind of spending that on and upping your lifestyle?
It's definitely very, very hard, and I struggle with it. And I'm at one point, like I originally started, was just buying my dream cars and making money off of that. And it kind of was really hard to take a turn and say, okay, I need to invest this money into my future. I need to figure out not just buy a supercar. That was my dream. I wanted a GTR so bad. And I got to the point where I really could buy a GTR. And I was like, okay, I could buy a GTR and be cool 19, 20-year-old driving around a supercar, or I can invest this money and in 5 years I can have a Lambo. I can have whatever I want. So it's really a struggle just staying disciplined and okay, I need to reinvest this money. I need to figure out how for my future. I'm trying to look long term now, not just short term. That was definitely something that took a key, indicator in not being stupid with your money.
Yeah. I think that's a characteristic in high performers and very successful people is that they're thinking differently, and like in terms of years instead of just like what can I do this month or this week. But what's the vision that you have for yourself? Is that what motivates you as a vision years from now, like 5 years from now, 10 years from now? Because I think it'd be very tempting to want to spend that, right? Like you could go do a lot with the cash you've got, but is it like what pushes you, I guess? Is it a vision of yourself? Is it freedom, financial freedom, or what's that thing?
It's definitely financial freedom. That's in entrepreneurship, that's my main goal. I want to be able to wake up when I want to. I don't want someone on my back telling me what to do, when to do it. That's something I hate. When I worked, luckily I worked for my mentor for a while, and he was pretty chill, and he helped me a lot in business. But before I worked at Culver's, that was my first job.
How old were you?
I was 16, right as I turned 16. And just having someone on my back constantly, I was just, I cannot do this. I cannot do this. Like, I have to get away from this. I need to get to that financial freedom. So that's really my end goal is financial freedom, especially for my family, my future family too. Once I, have a wife, kids, I want to be able to not worry and be able to spend some time with them. That's why I want to trying to sacrifice my, early 20s. So when I'm 25, I don't have to go as hard. I can spend time with my future family, spend time with my, parents, siblings, mentors, everything. I want to, take advantage of it while I'm young, while I have this energy and, yeah, get to that
So you
freedom.
had one job at 16, right? I
Yeah.
mean, to you, that's probably the last time that you're going to work for someone is when you're 16
Yeah.
years old.
And then I worked for my mentor for like 4 years now, and it was definitely, he was definitely a big, contributor to my success because during that period of time, from the time I was, 16, any questions I had, anything, I just go to him, and he's been really, really supportive and, offering advice very, very regularly.
So you went from, what was it, probably $14 an hour at Culver's to
I don't even
six
remember. It
figures.
was something like
And
that. Who even knows?
that's
Yeah.
insane. That's really cool. I mean, going back to motivations too, do you think that, is there a part of you that kind of has something to prove to other people? Or do you think it's really a vision of like where you see yourself? Sometimes I think of that, of what's actually pushing me. Is it trying to prove something to yourself? Is it trying to prove something to other people? Or is it really just, I want financial freedom in 5 years or whatever?
You know what? That's definitely a big struggle I still have is I have to tell myself, you don't need to prove something to other people. You just prove it to yourself. Have those positive affirmations that you are. I think Alex Hormozy said this. Have those positive affirmations that you can look in the mirror and know you are exactly who you say you are. I know we talked about that at the event. We were at the imposter syndrome, feeling like you're a nobody, and that's really something that I struggled with or still struggle with is reminding myself that I don't have to impress people. I don't need to try and prove people that I'm worthy or that I'm, some successful guy. I just want to be able to feel good for myself, be able to have my family proud of me, mentors, peers, everyone like that. If I feel if I feel content with myself, I think I'm good. But it's still definitely a struggle. Like you'll have those doubter or those people that'll hate and doubt and say, "Oh, you're nobody." Like people in your past when you're younger telling you, "Oh, you're gonna be a nobody. You're not gonna make it." Stuff like that. So I kind of just told myself, okay, just filter that out. If people can't look at you and be like, okay, this kid means business, like I think that's cool. If people can look at you, but it's not something you should focus on, for me, in my opinion.
I want to touch on the imposter syndrome a little bit too, because we talked about that, and I think I've struggled with that a lot, and still, I mean, it's always, I think it's always going to be a thing, and I guess what made me think, and I want to kind of ask you, but why do you think people like us or people that are really trying their best to improve themselves, why would they feel imposter syndrome more than someone that's kind of just going with the flow with things, right? Like just showing up to a job, trying to do the minimum. They probably don't feel that way, but why is it you think more prevalent with people that are working hard?
I think it's because once you start working hard and getting up there, you start seeing all the levels. They say you don't realize how many levels are in the game until you get into the game. And that is so true, so true. I used to think I had an ego and I thought I was so cool. I was like, there's no other kid like me around here. And then I started hanging around dudes that are like making $1 million a month. And I was just like, okay, there's levels to this. And I don't get these levels. So it definitely, it made me feel like I was an imposter. Like being around people like that, you're like, I'm a nobody. I'm literally a nobody. Like I think I'm cool, but there's this guy that's shopping for a yacht. Like it's definitely a big struggle. But I think people that don't have the drive we do, they don't feel that is because they could care less. They see people tell me all the time, oh, it must be nice. Oh, you just got lucky. I'm like, okay. So I think people just like to play the blame game. They don't feel that imposter like they're, someone they're not.
I think that's important you say. I mean, going back to what we were saying earlier too, is like you think that you're the top dog until you surround yourself with people that are doing a lot better than you.
Mm-hmm.
But honestly, that's the only way to grow, in my opinion, is find those people that are doing a lot better than to me, I'm like, hey, I'm feeling pretty good. I'm 23, doing what I'm doing, and then I meet someone like Reid, and I'm like, okay, all right. But there's a lot of people. There's always someone that's bigger than you. Yeah. Always, and those are the people you want to be friends with. So with all the stuff that you've accumulated this far, all the success that you've seen, how do you know when it's going to be enough for you? Like, when do you think you're going to get to a point where you're fine with chilling? You've kind of made it.
I don't know. I've talked to people and like in my head, I've been like, or it's funny actually, because I remember even like a year ago, I was like, oh, I can't wait to get that level. Like the level I'm at right now. I'm like, oh, I can't wait to get the truck. I can't wait to, have the business and everything. And I feel like I'll be good. I'll be chilling. And now I'm here. I'm like, I want more. Like there's a whole different, like you said, or like I said, once you get into the game, you don't realize the levels. And I'm like, okay, cool. I got to this level. Cool. There's the next level. It was funny. I was actually talking to my mentor about this. I asked him, I was like, because he's really, really successful. And I was like, how does it feel? How does it feel? Just tell me, how does it feel? Like I fantasize that feeling in my head. I'm like, how does it feel just knowing you're good, you're chilling? And he's like, it feels good for an instance, but then you realize there's more to go. There's something else to conquer. And he's like, it never really stops. You feel good, and then you're like, okay, cool, there's something else to do. Cool. Next thing. And I'm like, that makes sense. That makes complete sense. Because I think of it too. I'm like, that's exactly how I feel. You just see them and you're like, they must feel so good just chilling. But game never
You think there's balance to it of like not being happy where you're at, and then wanting to move the goalpost kind of a little farther out?
I think so. I think a lot of it just stems with your view. If you think money will really bring you happiness and that's all you chase, you're never really going to be happy, in my opinion. Because I at one point really thought, I was like, oh, all I need is some money. All I need is some cars. All I need is that. And I'll be chilling. I'll be happy. And I essentially got that really young. I had every dream car I really wanted. And I was like, this isn't happiness. This isn't cool.
You noticed that at how old were you?
19.
And you really notice that?
Yeah,
Because I think
I
that's
did.
everyone's dream when you're young. It's like, I just want this. You probably got the poster on your wall of the car that you want. So you found that out.
Yeah.
Did that change your mentality kind of going forward?
100%. It 100% changed it. I was like, okay, I know if I have all the money, it's not going to make me happy. I mean, being 19-year-old and going places, going to Miami, driving supercars around, like that stuff's cool, but like this is just temporary happiness. In my opinion, happiness for me is being able to create and build and inspire and have, a great family, beautiful family life, all of that. Just be well balanced, be a nice. I want people to be like, oh, Reid, he's a nice guy. He's a good guy. He's a good man. Like that's really what happiness is to me. It's just being an all around generous, humble, good guy. Not, some flexing douchebag.
It's cool to see, though. I mean, I know you like cars, right? I mean, what is the nicest car that you've driven?
Nicest car I've driven. That's a hard one.
Or owned, if you can't think of it. What's the nicest car?
The nicest car I've driven is probably a McLaren 720. Nicest car I've driven. And the nicest car I've owned, that's a hard one, dude. I've had built Corvettes, Pro-Charged Corvettes. Probably my truck, though, honestly.
I was going to say, I mean...
I've had some crazy cars, but I would take I like trucks more now. I'm like, I don't know. I'm kind of over that loud, obnoxious. Supercars are a different level, though. That's cool.
Yeah, someday.
But, I mean, I've had stupid Mustangs, Corvettes, turbo cars, like everything. Even went through street bike phase. And I'm just like, I like to be chill, incognito now.
When you look at yourself now, looking back when you were 15, 16, would you be surprised with where you're at?
I think 100%. I would definitely be surprised. I know they always say, like, you won't realize how far you've gotten. Like, one day you'll just look around and be like, okay, dang, I've done this at this age. But at 20 years old, I never would have imagined this. In my head, I thought it was possible, but I didn't really believe it was possible. I just let it soak in. And I'm just like, okay, this is, at 20 years old, this is all happened. This is like my life. It's a lot of stress, but I'm just like, okay, I'm very, very grateful to be in the position I'm in. And, I'm even hungrier for the future.
You even thinking of that truck, man. It's like some people dedicate years of work to buy a truck like that. And his is paid off right now. So I think that's a good indicator.
Yeah, it's a good feeling when you pull up to a gas station and just like older guys will come to you like, man, that's my dream truck. I even get jokes all the time. Like, oh, daddy let you take the truck out today. I'm just like, yeah. It's stuff like that. I try not to let it get to me. Like, even I'll pull up to job sites or something, and they'd be like, oh, this is your dad's company. I'm like, no, this is mine. They're like, what? I'm like, yeah, this is my company. They're like, wow, you're killing it, kid. I like hearing that stuff. It's like, I'm like, okay.
I want to know, so think of yourself back at Culver's, working at Culver's. You probably had no idea what was going to happen the next year, 2 years. What advice would you give yourself?
You know what? That's a hard question. I don't really know. I think I would just tell myself to keep going down the path. At that time, I was just starting to get into motivational, watching motivational videos and stuff like that. I think working out, honestly, back then was what really, moving back to your question, what really got me into entrepreneurship. I think working out was really what got me into it, is just that consistent, grind. And so that's the advice I would tell my 16-year-old self. Just keep going, keep believing, keep just moving forward. I think that everything I did from 16 to now has put me in the position I'm in. So I don't think I would really tell my 16-year-old self, even the bad things that happened, even the mistakes that I really could have avoided. I think every single thing that I did from then to now, I learned from. Mistakes, good things, bad things. Each one of those taught me a lesson, and they're making me into, trying to become the best version I can in the future.
And I think even going back to the gym, like for me, that's kind of a humbling experience sometimes. Like you're breaking yourself down. I think you help yourself become teachable in a lot of different aspects. And maybe you've seen that with business too. I mean, there's a lot of people that are happy with just showing up at a job and they're chilling, like, they're happy with where they're at, but I think something's different with you, and you're not going to be happy with that. You want to expect more from yourself.
Yeah, 100%.
So you said you're getting into house flipping now. What got you into that? Is that something that you're going to keep doing?
100%. That's really my main goal for the future, is to focus on real estate and home flips and acquiring properties. But what really got me into it was just networking events. I started becoming really close friends with all these real estate agents, these investors, and everything like that. And I kind of wanted an in. I was like, how do I get in? I was first started getting into the dumpsters. And I'm like, okay, if I become friends with all these guys, they'll start using my dumpsters at all their properties. They'll start using my services at all their properties. So I should get into this, figure out a way to get in. And I met my partner now, Andreas. He was showing me a couple multifamily properties. I was trying to buy a duplex, triplex, and he brought up that he was starting home flipping. And I was like, how? How are you doing this? I really thought, I didn't know you could use other people's money and not really use your own money in ventures like that. And I was like, how do you have, $200,000-$300,000 just sitting around that you can throw into these houses? He's like, dude, I'm not using my own money. I'm using investors' money. And I was like, tell me more right now. Please tell me more. I went in. So yeah, I mean, he just went hard and just relayed so much information. He is like a genius when it comes to that stuff. I mean, he's 22, but he just super, super disciplined guy, and is teaching me so much about the whole real estate game that is just a whole different level from the dumpsters and the other businesses. We're working literally door knocking, cold calling all day, agents. It's not easy at all, but just once you get that one deal, golden. Once you can start getting, multiple properties, you can start making, $50,000-$60,000 on these homes. And once you start gaining the trust of these investors, just call them up. Hey, I got this apartment complex. I need a couple mil. Cool. Hey, call another guy. Hey, you can take this much. You can take this much. Cool. That's how a lot of the big guys get into apartments. Well, one of my buddies, his name's Arik. I think he's like 23. He owns like 250 apartments. Just straight up using investors' money. He's just killing it off of it. So once you get the ball rolling and that momentum, you're golden from there. That's the hard part, is just getting the ball rolling. In all business, I think, is once you get it rolling, that momentum, you're golden.
With that being said, too, I mean, I think there's a lot of people that want to start side hustles. I mean, I think it's super popular on social media. You go on Instagram, or at least that's the things that I'm seeing, right? Like, hey, start a side hustle, start your own business so you can work for yourself. What advice would you give to people our age or young people that actually want to do it and be successful with it?
I would say just go for it. Don't sit around and procrastinate. That's really a difference between me and other people. When I came up with an idea or something I wanted to do, I didn't just sit there and like, oh man, I want to do this or I want to do that. I was like, cool, plan, cool, next week, done. That's something that'll really speed in business just go so hand in hand together. It's so, once you can get some speed down and momentum, you'll notice your success just go way up. So just act on it. When you got an idea, act on it. I mean, you're in your 20s, early 20s. If my business fails, I'm 20 years old, 21 years old with all this experience and all this knowledge and all the contacts. I can go do something else. It doesn't matter. You're young enough. If you fail, try something else. You don't got, full family, 3-4 kids. You don't got all this stuff to worry about. While you're young, just tackle it. Figure out what'll work for you. And if it doesn't work, cool. Move on to the next thing. If it works, golden, and run with it, man.
And that's probably invaluable. I mean, that's different than just thinking that you know how to run a business because you watch a YouTube video. And YouTube's great. Like, social media is great. The internet's awesome to learn these things. But do you think that you had all the information that you needed before you started your business?
Not at all. Not at all. I thought I did, but once I jumped into it, I was like, I didn't even think about that. I didn't even know this would be a problem. Like, there's so many little things you don't really think about before. Like, you start reading, you talk to other people. I unfortunately didn't really have anyone in the exact business I'm in, that had the experience in this industry and would know exactly the issues or the things I would have to go, trials and tribulations I'd have to go through. And I just literally had to kind of figure it out. And that's what I did. Just figured it out. I thought I was going to have it figured out. But now I'm in it and I'm like, okay, I got some work to do. This is not as easy as I thought. Starting a business is easy, but scaling a business is really, really hard.
Is that where you want to go with it too? I mean, you think you want to keep scaling your business and let it grow?
100%. I think that's really in this. I'm not going to focus on it too much as an end goal, end all. Real estate is really for me what I want to put a majority of my focus on in the future. But for now, I think I want to scale it up pretty big, maybe sell it, maybe just, keep some equity in it and do whatever. Only time will tell. So
I think so. One of the last things I want to touch on too, I mean, with self development and kind of these other ventures that you're interested in, where do you see yourself down the road? Like, what's going to be most important to you? I know you said family, but are you looking to get more into like inspiring people, like teaching, or what kind of things do you want to get yourself into?
I really want to get into just content, straight inspiring people, straight kind of mentorship. All the things that I learned, I would try to avoid from 18 to 20 or even 18 on, however old I am. Just give people advice, mentor them. Tell them, hey, I wouldn't do this. I would do that. Here are the mistakes I made and how you can avoid them. Here are some lessons I learned. This is how you can avoid them. That's really what I want to do, is just work on inspiring people just to dream so obnoxiously big. Like whatever you think you can do so much more. That's really something I wish I could tell my 16-year-old self too, moving back, is just dream big, dude. Like I dreamt pretty big, but I didn't think this was possible. Like just dream bigger, basically. You can accomplish whatever you set your mind to.
I love that you say that because I think too many people are distracted and then have this false belief of like, my parents did this, so that's what I'm going to do, or this is what the bar is at right now for an average person. So I think that there's a lot of credibility in that, and like knowing that you can just touch whatever it is you want, you can get to that level.
Yeah, for sure. Sometimes that's really a hard thing to do, is to shut out other people's opinions of you. I mean, everyone's going to always have something to say. There's a saying, sometimes you have to let other people's dreams for you die in order to live your own. So not everyone's going to be happy. Not everyone's going to support you, but just go for it, man. It's you. Be content with what you can do. Don't worry about other people.
Well, Reid, thank you so much for being here, man. I really appreciate you coming by. Guys, do me a favor, follow Reid on Instagram, whatever else you have.
Yeah.
He's going to be producing more of this content. That's the expectation we have for him. Like, comment, stay tuned for more. Thank you guys for listening.
Appreciate it.